Welcome back, everyone. Ready for another deep dive. This time we're going to explore the mind of Nikola Tesla through his autobiography, My Inventions.
Sounds fascinating.
It is, and we're focusing on Chapter 3. That's where he really opens up about his childhood and, the struggles he faced early on. What makes this chapter so compelling?
Well, it gives us a glimpse into the man, not just the inventor. We often hear about Tesla's accomplishments, but this chapter shows his vulnerabilities,
Yeah,
his passions, and the things that shaped his journey.
I like that. Yeah, it's like peeking behind the curtain.
Exactly.
So where do we even begin? What's Tesla's childhood like?
He starts with his early fascination with science, particularly physics and math.
Okay.
And what's striking is how he describes his thought process.
Yeah.
He had this incredible ability to visualize everything, almost like a mental simulator, especially with calculations.
Well, hold on. Was that common back then for inventors?
It's hard to say for sure, but from his descriptions, Tesla's visualization was exceptionally vivid. He talked about seeing numbers, equations in his mind's eye like they were on a screen.
Interesting.
And he used this ability to work through complex problems, designing and testing inventions mentally before ever putting pen to paper.
So he was basically prototyping in his imagination.
Exactly. He mentions being able to change the construction, make improvements, and operate it all in his mind.
Wow, that's incredible. So he was obviously a bright kid, but did he show any signs of, the inventor he'd become?
Absolutely. Even as a child, Tesla was always experimenting. He describes some early invention attempts.
Okay.
One that stands out is this flying machine powered by vacuum.
A flying machine. Wait, was he trying to build airplanes as a kid?
Not quite airplanes as we know them today. His idea was based on what he understood about vacuum power at the time.
Makes sense.
He observed how a water pump created suction and thought, what if I can use that to create lift?
Fascinating. So even then, he was drawn to these, ambitious challenges.
Exactly. He even built a small wooden model, and he was thrilled when it showed a slight tendency to rotate. Of course, as he learned more about physics and aerodynamics, he saw the flaws in his design.
Right.
But it shows his early fascination with flight and his willingness to experiment, to learn from those early mistakes.
It's interesting how those early experiences, even the failures, can shape an inventor. But Chapter 3 isn't all about inventions. Tesla also talks about a pretty unexpected influence, Mark Twain.
Yeah, it's one of the surprising stories. He describes how reading Mark Twain's work helped him through a severe illness in his youth.
So Tesla, this future genius of electrical engineering, found solace in literature. That's amazing.
Oh.
It reminds us how art and science can intersect.
It does. And what's even cooler is that Tesla actually met Mark Twain years later and told him this story.
Really?
Yeah. And according to Tesla, Twain was deeply moved.
That's such a heartwarming story.
Yeah.
But let's shift gears a bit. The chapter also explores this conflict between following your passion and, family expectations, something a lot of people can relate to.
Oh, yeah. The classic struggle. Tesla's parents, especially his father, were devout and wanted him to join the clergy.
But Tesla had a different path in mind.
Exactly. He felt this pull towards science and technology.
A calling.
Exactly. A calling he couldn't ignore.
So how did he deal with this situation?
Initially, he had to kind of suppress his desires. He enrolled in the real gymnasium where he did well in math and physics, but struggled with subjects like freehand drawing.
We talked about visualization being key for him. It's interesting that he found drawing challenging.
It is. Tesla even called it a real annoyance.
Wow.
Maybe his mind was just too focused on calculations and inventions to, translate those visions onto paper.
Yeah, maybe freehand drawing was too restrictive for him. But that internal struggle, passion versus family, must have been really tough.
It was. Imagine that pull in two directions.
Right.
Feeling passionate about one path, but obligated to follow another.
It's a relatable situation for sure. So how did Tesla finally break free and pursue engineering?
Fate intervened, and it was pretty dramatic. Tesla contracted cholera and became very ill.
Oh, no.
His father, seeing him close to death, finally realized the depth of his passion.
Yeah.
He relented and allowed him to study engineering.
Wow. What a turning point. A reminder that sometimes, even when things seem impossible, our dreams find a way.
Absolutely. And for Tesla, this was just the beginning. He enrolled in the Polytechnic School in Graz, where he immersed himself in his studies. And that's where we see his legendary dedication.
Okay, let's talk about that. Tesla's work ethic was incredible, right? What was it like for him at Graz?
He was relentless. He'd start studying at 3 in the morning and go until 11 at night, no breaks, weekends, or holidays.
Wow, that's intense. I can't even imagine. What drove him? Was it pure passion or maybe making up for lost time?
Probably a combination. He had this insatiable desire to learn,
Mm,
but maybe, yeah, there was an element of making up for those years when he had to suppress his true passion.
right. He had a lot of catching up to do.
Exactly. So he's at Graz, absorbing knowledge like a sponge. What were some of the key subjects and experiences that shaped his thinking during this time?
That's a great question.
He was really drawn to physics, mechanics, and math. He spent countless hours in the library, immersed in the works of great thinkers. He even decided to read all of Voltaire's works. That was almost 100 large volumes, small print.
All of Voltaire, wow. But it shows his commitment to going deep.
Exactly. And it was during this time that he met some influential professors who played a big role in his development.
Okay, tell me about these professors. Who were they and what impact did they have on Tesla?
Well, there was Professor Wagner, known for his lively teaching style and his unique way with words.
Sounds like a character.
He was. Then there was Professor Purcell,
Okay.
the methodical physics professor. Tesla described him as having enormous feet and hands like the paws of a bear.
Yeah.
But despite his appearance, his experiments were always incredibly precise.
I can picture him in the lab.
Exactly. And of course, there's Dr. Al. He was a brilliant lecturer specialized in calculus and differential equations. Tesla considered him the most captivating speaker he'd ever heard.
We talked about how Dr. Al would stay after class, giving Tesla challenging problems to solve. What was their relationship like?
It seems like they had this mutual respect and admiration. Dr. Al saw Tesla's potential and encouraged him. It was to Dr. Al that Tesla first revealed his concept for a flying machine. He trusted him with his most ambitious ideas.
That's a great image. This brilliant student and a mentor who sees his potential.
Yeah.
But I'm sensing a but here.
You're right. This time of learning and growth was also marked by a big obstacle,
Okay.
one that tested Tesla and ultimately set him on a path to one of his most groundbreaking discoveries.
I'm intrigued. What was it?
It all started with a Graham dynamo.
Ah, the Graham dynamo. Wasn't that the machine that got him thinking about brushless motors?
Precisely. This encounter had a huge impact on Tesla, a challenge that would consume him, lead him to despair, but ultimately lead him to a revolutionary breakthrough. So, what is a Graham dynamo? It's, well, imagine a big clunky machine, the kind you might find in a steampunk novel.
Okay.
Spinning copper coils, sparks flying everywhere. That's the dynamo. It was used to generate electricity back then, relatively new.
Got it. So how did this dynamo lead Tesla to, his breakthrough with brushless motors?
Well, it all started during a demo in Professor Pochel's class.
Okay.
They had just gotten this new Graham dynamo from Paris, and everyone was excited to see it. Pochel was showing them how it worked, running it as a motor. And suddenly, the brushes, those little contact points, started sparking really badly.
So dangerous.
It wasn't ideal. But for Tesla, it sparked something else, inspiration. He saw those sputtering brushes and thought, there has to be a better way.
Yeah.
He imagined a motor without these brushes.
That's a pretty radical idea for the time. Weren't brushes, essential for electric motors back then?
They were. And Professor Poschel, a strong believer in the science of the time, dismissed Tesla's idea. He even gave a whole lecture explaining why it was impossible.
Really?
Compared it to perpetual motion.
Wow, that must have been discouraging, having your idea shot down like that.
It was a blow. Tesla later wrote that he was swayed by Poschel's authority for a bit, but deep down, he felt like he was onto something.
It's that intuition we talked about earlier. He trusted that inner voice, even when it went against conventional wisdom.
Exactly. Tesla believed that sometimes instinct, that deep inner knowing, was more important than knowledge from books or lectures.
Interesting.
And this belief pushed him to find a solution even when others doubted him.
So how did he approach this challenge? Did he immediately start building prototypes?
Not quite. Remember, Tesla was a master of visualization. He had this incredible ability to build and test inventions in his mind.
Right, his mental workshop.
Exactly. He spent hours visualizing motor designs, running them in his mind's eye, making changes, trying to figure out how to get rotation without those brushes.
It's amazing how he used this mental process to refine his ideas. But did he ever get stuck? I mean, even with those skills, there must have been roadblocks.
Oh, absolutely. He described this period as incredibly frustrating.
Yeah.
He was pushing the limits of what he knew, struggling to find a way forward. And the struggle, plus the pressure he was under, started to affect his health.
You're talking about his breakdown in Budapest, right?
Yes. He talked about his senses becoming incredibly sensitive. Even the slightest sounds or lights were unbearable.
I can't even imagine.
He could hear a watch ticking in a distant room, feel vibrations from a carriage miles away. Imagine living like that.
It sounds overwhelming, like his nervous system was on overdrive.
It was a living nightmare.
Hmm.
And what was worse, his doctors didn't know what was wrong. They said it was incurable.
So he's dealing with this impossible problem, this debilitating condition, and facing what seems like a dead end.
Yeah.
It's amazing he didn't just give up.
It really is remarkable. But Tesla, he had this unyielding spirit.
Yeah.
He was determined to live, to continue his work. And through sheer willpower, exercise, and the help of a close friend, he slowly started to recover.
What a testament to the human spirit. So once he started to feel better, did he jump back into his work on the motor?
He did. In fact, he was almost upset that his illness had interrupted his progress.
Really?
He felt like he had so much energy now.
It's like going through a fire and coming out stronger, more focused.
Exactly. He later said that he went back to the task with a new sense of purpose, like a vow.
Wow.
It wasn't just about solving the problem, it was about fulfilling his destiny, proving he could overcome anything, even death.
So the stage is set. Tesla, revitalized and determined, ready to tackle this challenge. But how did he finally crack the code? What led to that eureka moment?
Well, it came in a pretty unexpected way, through poetry. He was walking in a park with a friend, reciting lines from Goethe's Faust, when the setting sun sparked this sudden insight.
Poetry. How does poetry lead to a scientific breakthrough?
It might seem strange, but it shows how inspiration can come from anywhere. The passage Tesla was reciting was about, well, breaking free from human limitations, achieving a higher level of understanding.
Okay, I see the connection. Tesla was trying to do the same thing with his motor, pushing past the boundaries of what was thought possible.
Precisely. And as he said those words from Faust, the solution appeared. He saw it clearly. The rotating magnetic field and how it could create a motor without brushes.
Wow. It's like years of struggle, a near-death experience, and a moment of inspiration all coming together.
It truly is. But even with the breakthrough, his journey was far from over.
Right. He still had to figure out how to build it.
Exactly. And that takes us to a new continent, a land of opportunity where he would find the resources to bring his vision to life.
So we left off with Tesla having this incredible eureka moment, this vision of a motor powered by a rotating magnetic field. It's a game changer.
Yeah.
But like you said, the journey wasn't over. What happened next? Did he rush to build a prototype?
Not exactly. Remember, Tesla's process was, well, a little different. He didn't run straight to the workshop. He spent the next few years refining his concept, but mentally.
Oh, okay.
Still visualizing, running simulations in his mind, tweaking things, like an artist shaping a sculpture, you know?
So even with this breakthrough, there was still this intense mental phase. Not just hands-on building, but refining the concept itself?
Exactly. And all this was happening while he was finishing his studies, first in Prague, then Budapest. Imagine trying to focus on coursework while also grappling with this revolutionary idea.
It shows incredible discipline. But wasn't this also the time in Budapest when he had that breakdown?
Yeah, a very difficult time for him. He called it a complete collapse of his nervous system.
Right.
His senses became so sharp that even tiny sounds or lights were painful. He could hear a watch ticking in another room, feel the vibrations of a carriage passing far away, constant sensory overload.
And you said the doctors couldn't help him. That must have been terrifying.
It was a harrowing experience. But Tesla, he was a fighter. He wouldn't give up. Through sheer willpower, exercise, and with a close friend's support, he slowly regained his health. And as he recovered, his focus went back to the motor, even stronger this time.
Like he went through this trial and came out with an even greater sense of purpose.
Absolutely. He later wrote about returning to the task with this feeling like it was a sacred vow.
Wow.
It wasn't just a problem to solve, it was, well, almost like life or death. He had to succeed.
So he's got this revolutionary idea, this renewed determination, and a clearer vision than ever. What did he do next?
He realized he needed a change. He needed a place where he could really focus on his work with more opportunities, more resources. That's when he decided to leave Europe and head to America.
America, the land of opportunity. It's almost poetic, isn't it? This visionary from Europe bringing his ideas to the New World.
It's a perfect fit for his story. In 1884, he arrived in New York City, ready to make his mark. And that's where Chapter 3 ends.
What a journey. We've seen his brilliance as a kid, his struggles with expectations, his dedication to learning, the challenge of that Graham dynamo, the darkness of his breakdown, and then that eureka moment that led to his amazing discovery.
It's a glimpse into a truly remarkable person,
Yeah,
a testament to perseverance, intuition, and never giving up on your dreams.
it's been so insightful to explore Tesla's early life and see how it all shaped him, paved the way for his incredible contributions.
His story reminds us that even the most brilliant minds face setbacks. It's how we handle those challenges, how we adapt, that really defines us.
Well said. As we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave our listeners with a thought. We saw how Tesla embraced his unique way of thinking, trusted his gut, never gave up. What about you? What dreams are you chasing? What challenges are you up against? How can you apply those same principles to your own journey?
It's a powerful question to consider. Tesla's legacy isn't just about inventions, it's about that spirit of innovation, the courage to think differently, and the belief in human potential.
Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the world of Nikola Tesla. Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and never stop pushing those boundaries.